Like to call this meeting to order pursuant Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, hereby informing all attendees that a video and audio recording will be made of this meeting. First up, if there's any public comment, I'll entertain that now.
Kathy Hall.
Kathy Hall.
Hi
Kathy.
there. Hello, I just want to say thank you ever so much for making the Zoom hybrid meeting available. Thank you.
Okay. Great.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Okay, hearing none. When we start, we cannot start the public hearing yet.
No.
You got Matt Holmes here.
Yep. Okay.
Gordon has raised his hand.
Oh, yes, he is.
Hello,
Hey,
Mr. Chairman.
Gordon.
Hi, sir. Is there supposed to be a video that goes with this? Because all I'm seeing is a black screen and people's names, but I don't know if you turn the camera on. Are you in the courtroom?
Yes.
Just let me know that it's not coming across on my Zoom video, so I can't see anything that's happening. Not that I have to, but I'm
I
just
think we
letting
got
you
it
know.
coming now.
All right, well, thank you. That's all. Thank you very much.
All around, but I don't think it's working. Camera select.
Let's try that. I just hit start video. There we
There
go.
you go.
Half the buttons on that thing. I hope I didn't do any harm.
You'll have HBO on there.
We got Pete is coming on. We have Matt Comer in here. Evening, Matt.
Hey Buck, how are you?
Good. I appreciate you coming to our meeting tonight. If you don't mind, I think this might, it won't be every meeting, but once in a while, we might request your presence. Okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Very good. We're just killing some time. We can't start the public hearing officially until 6:15. See, we have no more, you have all of our sign permits now.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
So, we would like to see copies of those, so we're in the loop on that.
Okay.
Even though we're not judging, if we could, get those, because we're gonna be the ones also that'll get questioned on it. Since planning board has done it for so many years, people are gonna wonder why, so as long as, if we could, when you approve them, if you could just send them through and we'll review them.
Okay. Peter did give me a kind of a report. Do you want that and then just a copy of the application, or do you want the whole package?
I think just a report on it. Small.
Okay. Just the blurb. Okay.
Matt and I reviewed it at a meeting we had in his office a few weeks ago, and it has on it all of the basic information that we usually look at for a sign permit. How big is the sign? How much is the area of the sign specifically? How much area is allowed in that zone? Where is it located? How high is it? How far back is it?
Illumination.
What is the lighting like? So that we should get, if Matt fills it out completely, as I'm sure he will, we should get at least all of the routine information that we ordinarily got. We may discover after a while that there's a question that we have that we didn't look at in the report form, and then we can just change the report form. But I think it's mostly there. Do you agree, Matt, that it's mostly there?
I felt that was pretty comprehensive.
This will be a report on the permits that are issued, also the ones that are denied as well.
I don't remember what we said about that, Matt. are you good planning on filling this thing out for denials?
My understanding was you wanted approvals, but it does either, I can give you both. That, I'm going to go through the sign permit either way. So if you need approval and denial, I can do that.
A lot of times it's not really denied, it's just denied temporarily pending further information.
In the back.
I don't think we want that, do we?
Probably not, no.
But if he says, if it's somebody pushing hard and saying, no, I want my sign right there, just the way I proposed it, and you deny it, and it looks like it might go to appeal, then just speaking for myself, I would want to be told about it, just so that we know what the town's position is.
Sure. That's not a problem.
Yes, very good.
Sounds like everybody agrees, Matt. Thanks.
Absolutely.
How's zoning going? Is there anything that's bugging you? Anything you find to be?
I'm sorry, you tailed off there. You said how's zoning going?
Yeah, I'm looking one way and talking the other. How is it going? Is there anything that you're finding in Lee to be particularly difficult compared to other places you work, or unusually confusing, or anything worth noting?
Well, I think for me personally, the hardest part about the Lee zoning is it has the map has districts that are kind of split along through property lines. So especially when you're talking about the Pleasant Street corridor 102, there's a rural business district there that kind of cuts right through all of those parcels. So it and there's a couple other places, but that's the one that really comes to mind. That's probably the hardest part of it.
The chairman is planning to.
Yeah, we're going to be addressing that.
Okay.
And
Yeah, it sounded like there was something in the works about it. So I know the other big thing is whether to have ADU language in there or not. Most towns do. It's certainly not necessary, but even if it was an absolute no, that would be helpful too. Then I know exactly where kind of the town stands on that, where you guys were kind of driving things toward as far as accessory dwelling units go.
that also has been discussed.
So what's the normal rule, Matt?
Typically most of it talks about the size of it. Sometimes some towns say that it has to be in something that exists already. Some towns say you can build it. Some towns say that it can't be separated from, it couldn't be a separate structure. So you couldn't build a separate structure to be an ADU. Some towns say you can. So it just depends on kind of where you'd like it to be. How you want it to read.
Yep. On another topic comes to mind, the grow facility on 102.
Yeah.
In their site plan, they are supposed to have a fenced-in dumpster.
They are
Did
supposed
Beth
to
tell you about that?
Yeah, we looked at that today. I get my kind of knee-jerk reaction to that was it doesn't really say, the language really didn't say it, at least on the site plan. Whether that fence should be opaque or not, whether it's supposed to actually stop sight to the dumpster, or whether it's just supposed to secure it.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Which will
Okay.
matter if I bring it up.
Condition on that?
There is, we said that it shall be enclosed.
Oh, I see.
Now,
So what we said was the same thing that was already in the site plan?
that was our condition, and it said secured fenced-in dumpster,
Okay.
and they chose to do a chain link fence. So,
And not opaque.
not opaque.
No,
So,
sorry.
little details like that.
Well,
you take
I
for
only bring it
granted.
up. Yeah, I only bring it up because the only thing I can enforce is what's actually in written. You know what I mean? It's hard to go somewhere and say, hey, I think this was the intent of it, and you should do it. But if it's specific, and then I can say, okay, this is what was supposed to happen. That's a perfect example is Starbucks. Starbucks had a fence. They did part of the fence in the back, not the whole thing, and the site plan actually said the entire east fence. So I went back to him like 4 times. Entire east fence, go. So it eventually got done.
Okay. Even if we put, for visual, aesthetics would probably cover it too, wouldn't it?
That would help. Yeah. Yep.
So they are compliant, but yep, they split the hair right there.
Right.
Perfect.
A lot of applicants actually have a detail of the dumpster enclosure showing the composition of it. If
Yes.
it's concrete block, if it's stockade fence, if it's, a solid fence. At least if there's a detail on the site plan that you're approving, that would help.
So they built a fence that prevents anybody illegally going in and stealing their garbage. Is that right? That's the purpose of their fence?
Essentially, yeah.
Yep.
Great. They must think highly of us.
Matt, do you find the split zones to be an issue, or I know you were talking about 102 and are split zones an issue? Do you feel that?
Split zones are an issue anywhere, honestly. But I feel like the zoning should address it pretty specifically about you can't whether you can move that line like for zoning purposes, whether you can consider, I know one of the zonings that I've read, because I've read way too many of them, deals with it allowed you to, if more of the parcel was in one zone, you could consider the entire parcel in that zone. I know in Barrington you could move it, I think it was 40 feet. In Lennox, I think you can move it 20 or 30 feet to one way or the other, to try to gain what you're accomplishing. But it just depends on how lenient you want to be and how much you want to kind of work with people. Or if you want it to just be, hey, this is it, that's possible too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. We're 1:15 now, so I think we'll start on, you all set? Anything for us?
No,
Mr. Chair,
I'm good.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Matt.
I have had my hand up, just so you know, for a while.
You do?
Yeah, I was
Oh.
trying. Yeah, that's okay. I just want to let you know I'm not just jumping in.
Bro, there you are. Go ahead.
The only thing I wanted to mention regarding the sign, is there a spot on the report that we can mention the bylaw that we are quoting to approve or disapprove?
I don't recall that part of it. No,
You mean the section?
I have that report on my desk. I can check it out tomorrow.
That was one when we did this. I remember either we talked about it or I would like it to just note the section of the bylaw, or sections of the bylaw. Unfortunately, in our application, they don't have a spot to say what bylaw they're quoting. That would make that's why it was difficult to always look into this. So, but now that you're doing it and you have to go to the bylaw, I was wondering if you could at least put that on the report.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, I'd be happy to do that. I prefer to quote things where I can, because it always takes out the middleman in the perception that I'm making things up or doing what I want to do. So
So Matt,
anytime I can point to something, I'm happy to do that.
Matt, you're asking him to cite to the section of the bylaw that describes, for example, the size limitations for a sign?
Yeah,
Is that
if
right?
it's not too much trouble, I don't want to be, if it's too much, then if the board feels like that's too much, I'm okay with it. But I wonder if that could be included.
Just any given sign, there's likely to be 2 or 3 different sections relevant to one to illumination and one to size. And
If you guys think it's too much, or if Matt thinks it's too much, I'm fine. I thought it'd be good when we do review them, we can just go right to it and review it quickly. And in a perfect world, we'd like the applicant to apply under the section of the bylaw that fits the sign. But our application doesn't seem to have a spot for that. or we ask for it and no one ever provides it. I think it should be on the applicant to show what section of the bylaw they're following, and then Matt Colmer wouldn't have to really note it. But I think we talked about our applications, and they're pretty standard within that permit system where all the towns are that we can't really adjust the application, I guess.
That's not totally true. I can, if there's something specific we want, I can request it through the permit program to.
I mean, I think that's the way to go, is to make them fill out the application so that they do the research ahead of time of the bylaw section of the bylaw that fits their sign. I think that would save time on your end. And make
I love it.
Yeah, that would be a perfect world. That's what we wanted to do really when the board was working on them. So if you can request that, I'm on board with it.
Yeah, I can go into the permitize and request that Full Circle put something in there. I may come back to you with, what you want this or that, but I'm pretty sure we can put something in there in that application to quote a certain section of the law.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, anytime.
That's
Thank
it
you,
for
Matt.
me.
All right, moving on. I'd like to open up the public hearing for 187 West Park Street. Special permit, pre-existing non-conforming. Do you guys want to present to us of what you have going on?
Let's pull this forward a little bit so we can get you on camera.
Days of my Hollywood career.
Hey there.
So we supplied a map and the form for you. So then I spoke with Matt and helped. So Nicola and I have 187 West Park now. If you live nearby, you might have noticed the 5 million tons of Forsythia we had removed up the front yard. So you could see coming out of our driveway. In front of the house is an existing porch that's falling apart. We gotten some quotes to rebuild because it has to come off, and it's so in doing it though, the current porch is 6.5 feet. And if anybody understands furniture dimensions, we have like a wicker love seat that'll fit. And so we would love to have to be able to fit like something decent and actually have it be a real living room. Also, where the footprint of the house now, the 3.5 feet, there actually is a wooden staircase that goes down to the front yard, and that is exactly the 42 inches that we're looking for. So we would just put a doorway on either side of the house to not like intrude upon the existing footprint, if you will, but actually try to use that kind of existing. And I know that space doesn't completely count as space for us, but that's what we're trying to do. Like rather than, and then we'll put a stairway out.
And that's already in the setback, right? The porch is in the setback,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, the porch is already there, so it's.
No, but it's you don't have enough setback with the existing porch.
Well, and I talked to Matt about it. Matt, maybe you can help me out here a little bit because I didn't really understand all of it. We tried to look at the GPS maps and GIS stuff to try to get a sense of like, where's everybody else, and visually, and I know that could be deceiving because visually to me, so, there's larger front or shorter front yards than ours, if you will, but short of taking a measuring tape to everybody's driveway in the road. So I asked Matt, and he had said that you guys have at your fingertips or ability to see the kind of existing GPS, GIS. Well, so again, it's 42 inches, and we're trying to be as conservative as possible, but trying to actually make it help us so that currently in our house, everywhere you look outside, you don't see anything. So there's like no light coming in. So in the town of Lee, it's just beautiful to be able to look downtown to the steeple, but we can't, there's the way the windows are, it's like, all we do is look at our neighbors' houses. So that's kind of the vision, is to extend that 3.6 feet. That's what we're looking for.
Hey. Matt, you there? Colmer?
I am.
It looks to me from the drawing here that the proposed is gonna be 18 and a half feet, so even the existing would be at 20, 21 and a half, and what's our setback?
25.
25
Oh,
there.
it's
So
25, yeah.
yeah, so it's already, that's our non-conforming already, is the porch. So I guess our decision would be to allow it to
More.
more non-conforming. Okay, and, geez, if I can find it in these new bylaws, right, Peter?
Yeah.
Section 9, 6.1.
Just academic question. Why is this a special permit? Why is this a special permit for pre-existing non-conforming?
Because it says so.
Is it?
The application says so.
Of the bylaws.
The bylaw says
the
so,
bylaw says it.
that we can allow it through special permit.
Like, if it's already
Have
non-conforming.
you got your bylaw there, Conrad?
Not
I have it
happening,
right
no.
here.
Do you know what's the house?
Yeah, it's
Right
going
there.
up the hill.
We don't have a page. no?
Where the road runs by there, and there's
So the
a grassy area between the road and the
Yeah.
sidewalk. And then it goes a distance up to their front, it looks like the front of their property.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gonna change looks wise or any safety reason by denying. I mean, I can understand they need 8 feet
You know,
for a
6
decent sized room. I mean, 6.5 feet is
Yeah,
nothing. But what makes it unique is that grassy area that's
Yeah.
6 feet to
Oh,
the
yeah.
5-foot sidewalk and then beyond to their property.
Yep.
Be different if it was on a curb line, but I really don't see a major
Because you're
concern.
approaching the setback.
It's 6.13.
It's
Right,
supposed to be a variance.
I showed it to him.
That's a mistake.
He's got it.
Yeah. I mean, if everybody's okay with going the path of increasing the nonconformity of a pre-existing nonconforming building, just some jurisdictions would look at this as a dimensional variance because setback is 60 or is 25 feet. You're seeking for 18 and a half feet. So that would be a encroachment within the setback, hence you would go for a dimensional variance for the CBA.
normal.
This code allows it under a special permit. I
Correct.
guess that's what I. this was
Only-
clear.
Only if it's already pre-existing. That's what, so we
Yeah.
determine that it's already
Already.
non-conforming. Okay?
So you're making it,
Yeah,
more
we can't make
Well,
it
we can't make
non-conforming
it.
through this. But if they're already, it's, yeah,
no,
gives them some benefit, actually.
I get it.
If
There's,
it was conforming, then it would be a flat out no.
I personally don't have any issue with it. It's just.
I'm just-
the process, the
Six-
protocol. was just-
6.1C3.
Ask a question.
Go ahead, Peter.
You mentioned that you were going to put the door on the side of the porch.
Yeah,
The drawing shows it on the same.
yeah, I know. Well, just because they said they didn't want to go any further with the drawings until we knew we had the 3.6 feet. So it's just money. I mean, just for architectural drawings.
So you're making a verbal change here to what you've submitted.
Yeah, yeah, and just to be clear, you guys also allowed us, and thank you for curb cut, because again, if you're familiar with that property, it's a death trap, come down, especially with that Cynthia there. So we're just gonna have a little curved area to lead into, so either side, that way, either side of the house, we have a little way to get out. Otherwise, we have to walk down the lawn in the snow, and you know what that's like, right? So it just makes no sense to go down the center, and visually, if we're in the living room, you don't like, hey, they're here, you know what I mean? Left, like, it's nice to have a little privacy before somebody just walks, because that's what happens now, the mailman just comes right in, I'm like, hey, hi. So that's why,
The porch is 3 seasons, but it's going to be a year-round structure.
yeah, that's the goal, financially, hopefully.
Right,
Other neighbors.
we'll go around the table. Any questions?
No other questions?
No questions?
Dave?
Are there other people?
We're gonna do it first
Okay,
and then
sorry.
how about you, Peg?
Well, I'm not really against it. The only thing I am somewhat having trouble wrapping my head around, and maybe they can help me, is to make a structure that is already non-conforming and changing the footprint of it Are they doing that or not? Is that being, they are doing that?
They are doing that, but
Okay.
through their special permit,
Through
can
the
be allowed.
special permit.
That's what they're here for.
Right, no, I understand that. Sometimes in the past, just as a point of information, we haven't allowed the changing of a footprint of a building. Yes, in the past, even recently, the hotel or motel, whatever, on Laurel Street, we asked the person that was buying it, are you going to change the footprint? And I believe he said no, which wondering about.
But you could be
That's-
arguing that that was a motel use, a commercial
Yes.
use, and this is going to be a residential, so that was a change of use. This currently is a residential. use,
Right.
and it'll continue
I
to be
agree.
A residential use.
And they
Okay.
weren't requesting that either, so
Well, I
that was
know,
a
but
clarification.
there have been issues that have come before us. But-
Actually, they did change the footprint. They were building a new addition that was inside the setback, but not as close to the road as some parts of the
Oh.
existing.
Okay, so, okay, well, those are my.
Which, what pre-existing non-conforming we denied? I'm trying to think.
Sometimes, well, when Gil was building, we were denied because we were changing the footprint. I mean, I'm just saying that sometimes.
Is yours pre-existing non-conforming already? Or is it,
No, this is years ago, but
Yeah.
or a few years ago.
no,
yes.
I,
Yeah.
that's what I'm,
And yes, it was, and they wouldn't allow us to do it because of the footprint. Oh, I guess that's my only concern, but I'm willing to go
curious.
either
That,
way.
that makes me curious what,
Yeah.
because
I'm
I
just,
personally, I came in here in '05.
well, that was before you were here, Bob.
No, I
Yeah.
mean, I came in personally for, under this
Yeah.
in
okay.
'05 and we did, I was
Yeah.
able to do it. So I
Well,
wonder
I'm
if
not-
things got changed.
I just feel it's a question, and I like to ask the questions that are on my mind
We-
and
We've
get
had,
the answers.
we've had people come in, Peg, with all this set to go. And because they were not increasing the nonconformity, we decided they didn't have to apply because
Yeah, I
they weren't.
remember on Prospect Street, there was a
Yep,
very
there
clear
was that one, right.
example
Yep,
of that. But again, this is,
okay.
just asking.
All right, Matt, you have anything? Carlino?
No, I don't think this is going to, in my opinion, I don't think it's going to be more detrimental than the existing structure. So I'm for it.
Okay,
Can I have one question before you move on?
Yep.
I know they have a curb cut already, right, for the circular driveway? It looks like to me that with that circular driveway, it's more on town property than it is on your own property? Because it's, the town owns behind the sidewalk. That's all, that's why I say that.
Yeah, I mean,
Did you consider when you put the circular, you went for the circular driveway to put a turnaround? The existing driveway is gonna stay, is that correct?
yeah, we're trying to shorten it up because you can't come out of it without doing
Yeah,
it.
but I said if you put
Come out, yeah,
after you put your new addition on,
yeah, that's the intention, is to just have a little
Have it so you could
like a 9-footer.
back into the
Existing one.
driveway and then drive out into the road.
Yeah, because it's just I know if you know the property, the death trap.
Okay, well, and the door is gonna be on the driveway side.
Yes.
Oh, that's all.
okay. Right, anything?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so anybody in the public? Any comments? I don't see anything on Zoom. Okay, so now we begin.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
With our
Mr.
motion.
Chair,
Now,
I'm the motion guy.
I gotta ask questions. Do we still have to, we do site plan
So,
or because it's a minor?
oh, yeah,
It'd be a minor,
okay.
so we have to okay it as a minor.
It's not even applied for as a site plan, but we could treat it as.
Well,
such.
it is, they submitted
They submitted everything needed.
everything needed as a site plan, yes.
Okay, so I move that we treat this first as an application for approval of a minor site plan review. That we approve that site plan.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Dave Forrest seconds, roll call vote. Matt,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Peg,
Aye.
Buck Donovan, aye. Site plan's done. Now we go on to the special permit. And we need to do the findings.
I'm prepared if you're ready.
Okay, you want,
Chairman, I
let's-
move that the board find that the proposed porch expansion at 187 West Park be found to
and
be-
submitted, the data was submitted
Yeah.
in 17.
Submitted on October 17th, 2022. That plan, with the one modification made verbally tonight, that the door to the new porch will be on the driveway side and not on the road side. That the board find that that alteration is not more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure to the neighborhood.
Just one thing. You call it a porch extension, should you be calling it a new living room? That's what it calls on the plan.
Okay.
Okay, that's all. Just
Okay,
wanted-
sure.
Or let's do structure extension.
Okay, so
Let's leave it as.
we'll call it a structure extension in the minutes, and everybody will accept that without objection.
And can we also add the date and the plan reference? Because there is a dated plan here.
I did. I added October 17th is the application. You want,
The plan date is October 24th, 2022
okay,
by Bay Area Design.
all right, so I guess I better restate the whole motion. So, my motion, as corrected, is that the board find that the application for special permit dated October 17th and the accompanying plan dated October 22nd be found to be not more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure to the neighborhood, provided that the doorway is moved to the driveway side.
Okay,
I can't believe you remembered all that.
Are we, just a comment here. Are we going by the special permit, 1 through 5 findings, or are we going through the,
Well, if my motion isn't seconded, we can talk about anything, but
well, okay, I'll second the motion and then we can talk.
so we may have to make other findings as well.
I think so too.
But one finding at a time is really
Okay,
a way to proceed, Mr. Chairman.
so you have the findings?
I can get them quickly.
Yeah, let's
I
go through
I
those.
have them if need be.
What page, Matt?
It's general code doesn't give you a page, but it's 13.4 13.4 I. Mandatory findings.
For special permit, yep, page 143.
Okay, so I'll look that up in just a minute.
Okay,
Oh.
we'll do a roll call vote on this part. Peter,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Peg,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Buck Donovan, aye.
Now, Mr. Chairman, I think we changed some things in this version of the bylaw about the findings that we have to make. And I thought we had made a conclusion that only these 6.1 findings were needed.
That's why I brought it up. We definitely did change it. I couldn't remember if it's only 6.1 or only 13.4.
I think we eliminated the findings in 6.1.
We eliminate, what I remember, right or wrong, is that we changed the 6.1 requirements so that the 5 standards in 13.4 are no longer relevant.
Correct.
What I thought.
The 6.1 do not have any findings in there anymore.
Wish you all might have voted me on this, and I always remember my in things. Oh, so I don't know.
I believe we only have to go by 13.4.
You only have to go by 13.4.
Findings.
That's the opposite of what I just said. You're saying we still have to do all 5 findings under 13.4?
I think so. Look at
I think
C.
so, because we combined them. I think, like, I thought someone said that we got rid of the 6.1 findings.
Special permits.
And if you go into 6.1, the findings aren't there anymore. As far as I could see, I might be missing it, but
Well, you cited to 6.1C3, right? And that says at the end of that very long sentence, it says, may be authorized by special permit from the planning board upon a finding that such alteration, reconstruction, extension, or structural change shall not be more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure to the neighborhood. And that's the finding we just made.
that is correct. And I guess that would be the only finding in this one, because I think under the old 6.1, we had a few findings, if I remember.
Yeah,
So-
I think. Right.
So,
I think.
but you are correct, Peter. It says that, yes.
So what do you think, Matt? Do you think we're done now with findings, or do you think we need to make more findings?
I guess we could just go with the 6.1, but just for a process, the only thing is we're under a special permit. So then I'm double second guessing ourselves under the special permit process if we have to do those findings. I think we eliminated a couple of findings that were mentioned redundantly in both bylaws. So I think we approved the 6.1 correctly with one finding, but I think we need to cover ourselves possibly with other findings in the 13.4.
If you guys go on to 6.2, we discuss when the planning board authorizes a special permit. And it does mention the findings of 13.4. We deem them relevant.
I mean, I think we could do them all do we have to go? I don't think we have to go down to each finding under 13.4 separately.
No, I think we could do it as a group.
I think we can do it as a group, but I do think we eliminated a couple of the findings under 6.1. So I think there was a few in the old, 2 or 3 of them that were redundant in the 13.4.
Okay. So I guess my view of this is that I haven't read this from top to bottom except in chunks now, but 6.1 says there's one finding needed under C3. And 6.2, capital C, says that in order to grant a special permit under 6.2, you need to also use the standards and findings under 13.4.
Mm-hmm.
That does not apply, that statement does not apply to 6.1. So
Okay.
I think I think we're done, but if any members of the board think that we still should go forward and make the 5 additional findings, I'm willing to make those. I think we can make them. If anybody's feeling like it would be safer to do that, I'm willing to go
C
through.
refers to 6.1, doesn't refer to 6.2.
True.
So
Right.
your assessment is correct.
This is an application under 6.1.
Right, and the application was advertised under 6.1.
I'd go with that, Peter. I'd go with Peter on that. I think we're good.
Okay, then in that case, I'll move that the board grant the special permit under 6.1 C3 with the condition that the door be moved to the driveway side.
I would second that.
Okay, any further discussion? We'll go around the room. Peter?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Peg?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Donovan, aye.
Thank you
Okay,
very much.
have a special permit. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
I gotta excuse myself from that.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, do you want to mention the 20-day appeal and all of that? Or,
That's not a bad idea. Wait a minute.
Yes.
Yes, there is. Um, just so anyone knows, if anyone's not happy with this decision, there is a 20-day appeal period.
Okay, that's
So you
fair.
know.
Yeah,
So
we-
you, and that cautions you.
Yeah.
If somebody appeals it and we have to, if this gets nullified, any work that you've done would have to be changed.
I did talk to both neighbors and they were okay with
Oh, good.
very
it.
much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I've been hearing about it from across the street too, so
Let's come by.
stuff. Oh, yeah, it's fine. Okay. Now put your seatbelts in. Now it's gonna get.
Any of us is going to live long enough to the point where this bylaw doesn't have things happen.
Oh, I
It's so
know.
glitchy, but and when I reread it, the 6.2 is for the change of use, I believe. I think,
Change of use.
but it
Yeah.
does say structure alteration, reconstruction.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's all very sloppy.
Oh, that's not,
Yes, it's not clean.
no, well,
Okay,
it's hard to make it clean.
next up, now we'll wait for Dave to come back.
let me know when you want to share, let me know when you want to share the screen and,
You might as well. Can you share the screen, Matt?
let's see. Host disabled participant, we need to enable.
Hold on, let's see. Julie Berry.
There's a gentleman in the hallway. I'm going to ask him. Let's get him in.
Matt, I'm working on it.
No problem.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
thank you. I ran into this the other day when we were running the select board meeting. I think you have to make Matt the host.
okay,
If you click on Matt, his name, you can make him the host,
okay.
and then he can share.
Try that, Matt.
Yeah, I think we're good. I got somebody coming in to the meeting, so.
Oh, so now you have that control, okay.
Yep. I'll keep an eye on that. I'm not going to be doing anything else, so. Let's see. Can everybody see that?
It says you started screen sharing, yep.
Okay. Make this bigger. Well, you tell me where you want me to go when the time comes.
Microphone disconnected, please.
Matt, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay. Everyone else?
Mr. Chair, I'm going to recuse myself from this next item on the agenda,
Okay.
as I did in the previous hearings.
Okay, so what we have tonight is an amendment to the site plan from it's Forest Wild, and they're changing their entrance and exit. And a few parking spots. Really don't see that the parking spots are the issue. I think the entrance and exit are more so the issue. And if, would the applicants like to present this a little bit?
Peter D'Agostino is on, so go ahead, Peter.
Good evening, Planning Board, Mr. Chairman. Good to see you again. It's been a minute, so thank you for having us. Matt, if maybe we could go to the site plan. I'm not, we haven't seen this email from the district. So maybe we could go to the full site plan that we submitted. And
Yeah,
then,
I'm having trouble finding that in this packet.
I can.
Attached came later, Matt.
Okay, it came on the add-ins.
Yes.
All right, let me pull up the other. It came
And
on
I
the,
can certainly share it if that's easier. And then, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay with you, I'd like to turn it over to Dan Delaney, who is the engineer of record for the project from Fuss and O'Neill, and who can take the board through the MassDOT process that we undertook. If that's okay with you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Who would you like to control the screen?
Dan Delaney, I can do it. Matt can do it, or Dan, any of us. It's entirely up to you. We're all.
all right, so let me just clarify, Mr. Chair, in the add-ons that Beth sent at 1 o'clock, I only have the curb cut application and the Fox common driveway plan. And then I have the original packet from Thursday is all I have in that. So I don't know if I'm missing anything.
Saying there were 4 attachments.
Well, the add-on I received, you already saw the packet I had on, right?
Yes, Matt. Hold on.
Why don't you start from scratch and just present things and explain them as you go? And
Yeah,
pick
if you
somebody.
could allow us to share our
Yeah,
screen, we can take you right through it.
You're all set because I don't have that plan. So you're all set, Peter.
Okay, I just I think you got to make me the host, and then I'll turn it back over to you when we're done. That's
Oh,
what
I don't. You're going to do that, Matt.
Do I have to make him host now?
Yes, you do. Because I can't. Yeah. Or you share the screen. Wonderful.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Here I just no.
I think you're gonna have to make. I don't think I can make him now. You got to switch the host from me to Peter.
Matt, in order for you to share, I think they made you host. So if you go to the top right corner of my image, there should be 3 dots, and you should be able to make me host there.
All right,
That's
let me
what
see.
the select board had to do last week anyway.
You got it. That's it. Got it.
Okay.
Sorry. First time doing that.
No worries. Let me, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay with you, I'll share my screen of the site plan and turn it over to Dan. Is that acceptable?
Sounds good, yes.
Okay. So are you able to see my screen in the entrance and exit area that we're discussing?
We are, yes.
Okay, great. And then Dan, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yeah, can everybody hear me all right?
Very good.
All right. All right, thanks, Pete. And feel free to jump in at any point if there's anything you want to hit on as well. But just for introduction, my name's Dan Delaney. I'm a vice president with Fuss & O'Neill and a licensed professional engineer in the Commonwealth. I currently manage our Springfield regional office. And for this project, basically, we're here before you to talk about one change to the project or to the site plan, which involves the change to the driveway orientation from what you saw during the original approval process. This is a result of our filing with Mass DOT for an access permit to allow access from the site onto Route 20. So that work was undertaken last spring, and we submitted the permit to District 1. They had reviewed it. There was a couple of comments along with some questions on our traffic study. And we had responded to those with a revised plan. And they issued their final approval based on the plan you see before you. Let me just pull up the date. I apologize. I was scrambling to get all this on my screen in case Pete couldn't get his up there. So I got about 100 things open.
Dan, I think this is the permit here.
Yes, that's the permit there. Sorry. So there you can see that was the final approved permit. So what DOT, we worked with DOT. So if you go back to the site plan, Pete, the existing condition of the site along Route 20, there's currently into that area of the site, there's two kind of wide open openings, if you will, curb cuts. They're barely curb cuts because they're so wide, but the one on the left or on the north, I believe, is 39 feet. And the one on the right is 36 feet, I believe, of open space. And this is something, obviously, it's an existing condition. It predated any previous Mass DOT permitting. It's not something that they would allow in any way, shape, or form in a new permit. So when we went to them for an access permit for the site to access Route 20, we had proposed a couple of variations of kind of closing this off, resulting in the one entrance, because we know from our experience, many years working with Mass DOT, this is a major safety concern to Mass DOT to have these wide open entrances onto a state route, especially ones that are in close proximity. Right now, the island itself is only approximately 30 feet wide, just round numbers. So you have a 39-foot opening, about a 30-foot island, and then another 36-foot opening. Introduces from one parking lot multiple potential conflict points that are really serve only to kind of lessen safety. You have very dangerous movements here when you have the potential for somebody to make a right turn out of the north driveway and a left turn out of the south driveway, completely unchecked, and also in an area that's 1.5 to 2 times as wide as a normal driveway. So this is something that Mass DOT routinely has us clean up anytime we go in for an access permit for any type of development. So what you see here was the final iteration of the plan. It involves an island basically to close off the northerly curb cut that existed, and then limit the size of the southerly curb cut to a standard 24-foot curb cut with returns. So that the two 12-foot lanes, and then it does flare open as you if you're making a right-hand turn to the south, there is a curb flare there. And then there is a bullnose curb on the left as you turn in. So it does result in some significant safety improvements. The biggest being it lessens the velocity and the speed of anyone entering the site. And also it results in predictability of where people are going to enter and exit the site. When you have completely wide open entrances like exist there now, You have, like I said, the potential for someone to be coming or going on either side, turning either direction on either side. And it's just an inherently, less safe condition. This results in a much safer condition. Obviously, this is something that Mass DOT approved. And I know there was some questions about, the applicability of our previous traffic study and how that applies to this change. And the previous traffic study that was submitted along, and I know that there was also a supplemental traffic memo to answer some of the board's questions. That entire traffic study was predicated on this driveway being treated with one entrance. It's referred to as the north entrance in that traffic study document. All the measurements for line of sight and for each direction and clear space were taken from the location of this proposed 24-foot driveway curb cut. So that traffic study that was done originally, and as I said, the technical memorandum that we prepared subsequent to that was all done based on calculations taken from the spot of this driveway. Other than that, there's no other changes than what you see here to what was done previously. There's along the state line, or excuse me, state line here, right? The town line. There's removable planters, concrete planters that are movable if they had to be, but to block off access to the north, to the Lennox portion of the property. That does result in the removal of the final, I believe, 6 parking spaces there. In the end, when you look at the site as it sits now, with just being in Lee, the parking requirements that the town has for this parcel are met by what's remaining to the north. We don't see any issues based on the traffic work that we've done with parking capacity as it sits. And then I believe I mentioned in the select board meeting that what's also removed here are some of the most dangerous and potentially conflicting parking spots that in order to back out of any of those lower parking spots, you're essentially backing into a 39-foot wide entrance off of a road that has an average median speed of about 45 miles an hour. So those spaces are kind of the least safe on the site anyway. So removing that conflict is definitely results in a much safer condition. I don't know, Pete, if there's anything else you want me to go over, I'm happy to do that. But what we're looking at here is what's been changed since the last time we were before the board.
Dan, just one thing before we turn it back to the board. You had said in the existing spots to the north, I think it's these spots are to the south, actually, the remaining spots, right?
Correct. Yeah, the remaining spots are to the south. Yes.
Yeah.
What was removed was the 6 to the north. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure we that clarified. So, Mr. Chairman, that's the overview, and happy to take any questions from the board.
Okay, I'll start with the first one. You had a accepted site plan. We're ready to go. You had a special permit done by us. Why this now? Not just because you wanted to make traffic flow in and out better. Come on, to cut Lennox out of it?
The curb cut is not related to the Lennox parcel. The survey work was related to the Lennox parcel.
Planters.
Well, the access permit is so we can access the site. That's a permit that was needed regardless. Well,
you already had it.
An access permit?
You already had a site plan. You were ready. There was no other this wasn't needed.
Well, the access permit was needed.
DOT.
The DOT access permit, yeah, because that involves us accessing the state right away.
Mr. Chairman, if I'm not mistaken, too, in the supplemental memo that we provided to the town, we spoke specifically to the need for this permit. I can find out exactly where it is. It was either in the initial traffic study or in the supplemental memo that we did back during the initial approvals.
In other words, they couldn't build the plan that we approved because the transportation agency department wouldn't let them do the curb cut that we approved.
I don't see anything from the state telling us that.
Well, they gave us the letter that says.
They gave us a letter that
now you
they,
fixed it, you can.
no, they gave us a letter of their submissions of this plan.
Right, which
Yeah.
we needed to submit to DOT. We didn't submit to DOT until after we had approval because there's a significant, cost to the applicant for us to do that. So until we had approval from the plan, the site plan and the special permit, we did not submit to Mass DOT. It's the last hurdle. It's there right away. So they govern it. There's not much we can do if they don't like a plan. And in our initial discussions with them, that was, that's their first comment
So they-
was, well, you need to fix this. I mean, for lack of a better term, that's a
they
that's
sent you a
low hanging
letter?
fruit for them.
There's a letter saying that the two entrances was a no-go from them.
A letter? No, we typically coordinate up by phone before we submit. We don't
No
correspond with them.
correspondence on that.
No, that's all. We typically set up a phone meeting. It's quicker and easier, and then we just get their feedback. But I mean, there's absolutely no question that this was gonna, that this is a safer condition and something that anytime DOT gets a submission like this, if we had tried to submit it without it, we could have tried that, but then they would have bounced it back and we would have spent more of our clients' money. Like I said,
'Cause I remember
fixing something that we knew we had to fix anyway.
The original, the traffic was a very big concern, even to the extent where some people wanted a turning lane, possibly.
Right.
Remember that?
I
And,
do. Yeah. We did
yeah.
we did an analysis of that. Yep.
Yep. And I thought a good resolute, and then some people talked about a right turn only out of there. And a resolution that did come out of it was that there would be a left turn and a right turn exit. And there's no way to do this anymore.
I
No,
I don't.
guess I'm
Yeah,
mistaken.
I honestly don't recall a left or a right turn. That was never. I'm not. I don't remember that ever. I do know that we did analyze if there was a warrant for a left turn lane from Route 20 onto the site, and we did look at the turning movements from the site, and all of them, the traffic, the generation's just not there. It's not a very high traffic generator, in a sense that it would produce a need to do that type of a turn lane or anything.
No, turn lane was deemed not necessary, but.
Correct.
Mr. Chair, Matt Carlino here. I just want to let you know, I apologize. I did see the other plans in the email. So I did find them. So if you need me to share anything for the public or for the board, I'd be glad to do that.
I think we're okay. Want to go we'll go around the room now. Peter, any?
Yeah, just a couple of things. One technical question. Your letter of October 13th from Stephen Savaria references a plan. It looks like the date is October 14th. Is October 14th the date of the plan that you're showing us now on the screen?
I believe it is. Yeah. Can you just check, Pete, to make sure?
Let me zoom out here 1 second.
I think there's a rev date up. Should be right there. 10/14. Yes.
Yeah, 10/14. Can you see that date there?
All right, good. And my second question is substantive. I'm a little surprised. I realize that what I'm about to ask is totally at variance with what you report as the consensus among the complete engineering community. But it's not obvious to me that a 24-foot curb cut on a 45-mile-an-hour highway is a safe way to get in and out of a lot. It seems like somebody coming southbound toward Lee from Lenox at 45 miles an hour who wants to make a right turn could well run headlong into somebody exiting that lot, even if everybody's trying to keep in their lane, but that the guy coming southbound swings a little wide. Is that an unreasonable concern on my part?
Just so I understand, the concern is that somebody's coming southbound on Route 20 and they want to enter the site. I just want to make sure I follow you.
Somebody else is going out at the same time, and 24 feet. I mean, I guess 12 foot is a normal driveway. Is that right, Dan?
That's correct. Yeah. 24 feet's a normal roadway width, and either 11 feet or 12 feet is a normal lane width, depending on the type of road.
So even though the highway speed is 45, you don't think anything a little bit wider than this would be safer?
I don't believe there's any safety improvement by making it wider. The wider you go, the downside of making it wider, and one of the major issues with the really wide widths on the other ones is that part of entering the site, especially in a parking lot that's fairly constrained like this, is you want people to properly decelerate to be able to enter the parking lot at basically parking lot speed. In the old condition, or if you have a very wide entrance, you can exit Route 20 much fast. You can exit it faster, but it creates a whole other host of problems, potential conflicts in the parking lot. As you were describing, if you don't force somebody to, or don't have someone decelerate, they enter the parking lot too fast, they turn too sharp, or not sharp enough, and you could have potential conflicts. That's why that standard driveway width or roadway width is to well, it's first off, it's consistent. So this is the same driveway width they would for a 2-lane entrance that they would want with any other site. So you have consistency. So when you're entering a site or exiting a site, it's the same, essentially the same geometry or dimensions. But you want the deceleration to happen prior to them entering the site. With the old condition, if the northernmost area was open, as I mentioned before, you could conceivably, now I'm sure you probably know it, if it's open, you could exit that at 45 miles an hour and then hit the brakes when you get in the parking lot. That's an incredibly unsafe condition that we would want to avoid. So,
and Dan,
and that's the extreme too. I know you're not mean that, but that's sort of the other extreme, right?
Well, and Dan, to that point, the people coming in on this northerly entrance at whatever speed would be pulling in as people were backing out of these spots, as you mentioned previously. But one other thing I think you mentioned previously that may be important for the board to consider is the 24 feet is here, but for people turning right, this is the actual curb line, isn't it, Dan?
That's correct. Yeah. The
24 is wider here for these people to pull to the right and join traffic. I just, it's hard to see that, but that's the curb line as it will be when it's done. The 24 feet is measured at the narrowest.
Right. And that's the constraint, the most constrained point there. But yeah, it flares. This curb flares just like anything else on any other entrance. And that's just looking at it just in that one direction flares about an extra 8 or 9 feet right there. So.
All right. Thank you.
Dave? Yeah, a couple of questions. Would DOT allow a sign to slow the traffic down, to say exit speed reduced someplace north of the driveway? Because I think where it joins the angle that is joining the main road, it's okay if you're heading towards downtown Lee. But when you're coming from Lenox down, it looks like a pretty sharp turn to get into the parking lot. And where the bolt nose is, this is just something I want to throw out. What if you put like a Cape Cod berm on that? So in a panic situation, somebody could drive over it, being airborne.
Actually, it's a good point, and it's actually part of the standard detail. So it's actually it is a slanted slope granite, and it's only a 4-foot reveal at 60 degrees. So it's made to be mountable in the event that you accidentally clip it to, for lack of, clip it being a technical term, of course, but in the event that you do, you either cut it too close or something happens, that is made to be mountable. It won't, you don't want to hit it going 45 miles an hour, but it's definitely a mountable situation where if you did cut it too close, you would not, you wouldn't throw your suspension out. Yeah.
Lastly, for me, are you going to clearly delineate the exits? Even with maybe a thermoplastic reflective, so at night it's visible where the turning lanes are. you know, the north and south side.
Yeah,
There
that's a,
isn't one.
that's a good
Only
point. You know, this plan was, like I said, was laid out for DOT within their right of way, because, you know, because that's their biggest concern. But yeah, that's something we could and will add. Yep.
And Dan, just for clarity, I'm not sure if you can see my screen. I pulled up that detail that's also included on that.
All right. Yeah,
October
I was looking at it on my screen. That's right.
I just want to make sure I was showing the board the right thing that you were just talking about, the mountable curb.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, it still looks like to me with that curve, if you hit it at any speed, you're gonna go airborne. You know, the Cape Cod is a lot more of a transition, and maybe they can do that with granite. But I'd be really concerned that to keep that at especially on the ends where the two lanes come together, the north side and then the south side exit, north side entrance. Yep, right there. To have that curve laid pretty flat. I mean, yes, you can see it. Yes, it'll be an island. But to keep, if you have somebody that's coming southbound and the last minute see they miss the exit or the entrance for the driveway and they pull in there anyhow, to keep them on the ground.
I don't think we have much flexibility with the detail because it's a standard DOT detail for use within their right of way. It is their mountable slope granite edging for a situation like this. Like, this is what you would use on the side of a roundabout. That's a typical detail. So you're right. I mean, I wouldn't want to hit it at a 90-degree angle, like head on. It's mostly made if you cut the corner and you roll up around it, it shouldn't damage your car because it is a 4-inch, not a 6-inch reveal.
As I say, you said roundabout, we've got plenty of them and they've been popping up left and right. So
yeah,
if it's like that, then I guess that kind of removes that part of my question.
All set, Dave?
Yep, all set.
Peg?
Yeah, I was concerned about the traffic, as you read the original notes, or the minutes of the meeting. DOT is saying that this is a safer way to do this, even though some of us still have some concerns. Is there anything in writing that is there something here? I'm sorry, I didn't read everything. But if there is, I'll read it. Just in writing that makes it.
Their approved plan from
Their
DOT.
approved plan. Okay. Could you just talk to me a little bit about the new movable planters and why they're there?
This, hey Peg, this is Pete D'Agostino. So these planters are there to delineate the property line between the town of Lee and the town of Lenox. And as we mentioned during the select board meeting last week, the reason we went with something that was movable is so that we could approach the town of Lenox in using this for snow storage or for some other purpose. So we put removable planters or movable planters, I should say, not removable, but movable, so that we could potentially use this for additional snow storage or something to that effect. So that's why we didn't put a permanent fixture in place, if you will. That was the thought behind that.
Thank you. If you ever do any more on Route 20 or with the DOE, it might be wise to go to them first for the original plans. Not criticizing, I'm just commenting. It might be wise.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, we can certainly appreciate that comment. Thank you.
Because I did call at different times, the DOT, and asked them if they had heard anything from you guys or women, whomever, people. And they said no. I think it was Dan that I spoke to most of the time, even if you don't remember. But
yeah, we actually did, just so you know, we didn't file the access permit, but MassDOT was notified, and we did receive a letter from them at the time that said that we would be required to file an access permit upon the town's approval. So they, I guess depending on the exact question you asked, I'm not sure, but they certainly were aware of the project at the time, and to the extent that they sent us a letter indicating it would require MassDOT approval for the right of way. But to Pam's point, we hadn't submitted the final design, if you will. So I guess it comes down to what the exact question you asked, but they were aware of the project, and they had in fact sent a letter, enforcing their right to approve the design in the right of way. And that was at the time of us going through the town's permitting.
Thank you.
I also highly doubt that Pam herself wrote the letter, even though her name was probably on it. So I can appreciate that as well.
Right, Matt has recused himself, but Conrad, you have you have a lot of comments.
Bunch of them. Questions, a couple questions, a couple comments. It does seem like the single point of access is far and away much better than the original 2 points of access that for much wider driveways that were 36 feet wide and 39 feet wide that was originally submitted by the applicant. So the single point of access is, by far the better way to do it. Agree that the MassDOT requirement for eliminating the northerly curb cut reduces southerly curb cut down to a single point of access at 24-foot throat. That is a MassDOT standard. Lots of times if you can get a 24-foot throat and you can widen out the radiuses of flares on either side, that's usually desirable too. We can talk about that in a second. Since there's no parking on the north side of the Lennox piece, is there any way of removing the paving on that Lennox piece and installing loam and seed in its place? Just thinking that the edge of the paving and the grass would not need to be bit curb. It just could be the edge of grass. It certainly would look a lot better visually as you approach the location. It also removes a bunch of impervious material and in place puts impervious material that would absorb more stormwater flow on the north side of the property. Although that it'd be minimal at best, but it would still it would look far better if they were just, if you're going to put planters there and you're going to have all this paving on that side that you can't use anyway, why not just convert that, remove the paving and put in loam and seed, and it just look a lot better when you come into the site. Just an observation. Is there going to be any tractor trailer activity in and out of that driveway? I'm sure what your use is here. If you're going in with box fans, or you're going in with tractor trailer activity. Again, it is a mass standard, but if you can put a wider flare, I know you got the wider flare on the south side. Can you put a 20 or 30 foot radius on the north side where the bullnose is? Where the bullnose is there, if you put a 20 or 30 foot radius that wraps around from the front of the curb and runs tangential to where your town Lennox line is, that would give you more of a flare. It's just, you'll still have your 24-foot throat, but it'll give you a little bit wider flare to get in if you had like a tractor trailer or a large box fan. Again, just observation. In the original approved plan, the parking that was proposed on the northerly curb cut, that was way too close to the right-of-way line anyway. And it was definitely a backup hazard at the point of entry. I was kind of confused why the applicant didn't eliminate the two driveways and go with a single point of access initially, because that seems like it would have been the safer thing, and it really should have been done at the same time. And I'm also curious why Mass DOT was not consulted on the driveway configuration in advance of the original planning board site plan approval and the select board special permit back in March of 2021. It seems like a lot of this could have all been avoided if you went to District 1, talked to them about the driveway configuration initially. They would have said right then and there, they're not going to allow the two driveways. They're going to tell you about the 24-foot driveway and going to District 1 initially just to get that initial concept discussed would help out considerably. That's pretty much it. I think there's still approval on the 24-foot is that's an absolute. If there's something you could do on that northerly, pick out that bullnose and put a 20 or 30 foot radius that runs tangential with the front curb as well as the Lennox Town Line, I mean, I think that would help. That would help. And still meeting the criteria of the DOT 24-foot cut. Is that an option? Is that a thought? Is that-
It's to the member's question, Dan, if you could address the radius on the north side, but we do not anticipate any tractor trailers. The delivery vehicles for this use are primarily a Sprinter van or smaller. Many of the businesses that will be delivering, quite frankly, are using those kind of vehicles, if you will. So much smaller in nature. I can't contemplate a tractor trailer truck that would enter this back. I guess in the world of anything's possible, but from a general practice for the industry, deliveries aren't made with tractor trailers. And then Dan, if you want to speak to the radius on the north side of that bullnose, because that's not my lane.
Yeah, it's a good question. How do you treat that in the safest way possible? It's a good observation. I know we had put a 2-foot radius to basically starting from, in this view, the bottom, curl that around, and then we continued to 2, and then I believe that radius there is basically it sort of matches into the full width of the island. That's a wider radius. When we were talking to DOT, what they didn't want us to do is to take the radius and then dive it to a point. So you have almost like a, I don't know if you can see my hands, but sort of that knife point where they wanted to continue that 2-foot around just enough so it's continuously rounded and then dive it. So that's why we ended up with that kind of that different shape there.
That's why I was thinking if you took that R20 that your cursor is on right there, you take that R20 and again, wrap the front curb around to the, right to where the first planter is, that you're showing that planter box, run a 20-foot radius around it. You still got the 24-foot throat, but you got the wider radius in order to get the cars in and out better.
They have to stay out of Lennox.
This is state right away. That has nothing to do with Lennox.
Their road would be in Lennox.
But
Their
once they jump
driveway
into
would be
that
in
parking
Lennox.
lot, they could
Part
be
of
in
the
Lennox.
cars, I think, from that. They didn't have it surveyed either.
That's the crux of it.
Right away.
Up to that line.
Up to that line, yeah.
We're asking them to bring it further onto the lot than the state right of way extends.
We're talking about that much,
So 6 inches, you're asking them to bring it west 6 inches.
I guess what I'm asking is there any radius then that could be accomplished that again would run tangential with the front curb and wrap around to the Lennox Town line like that, to just give you a little bit better of an approach for the southbound traffic making that right turn entry? I guess that's what I'm asking. And if it's in the state right of way, that's where you have control of it. Maybe you don't have control of it in Lennox, but you'd have control of it with the state. Again, as long as the 24-foot throat is preserved. I've seen applications where you usually have the 30-foot radius on both sides of the 24 feet if you have enough right-of-way space to work with. Just like you're doing just like you're retaining what's going on the south side, right where the guardrail radius is, right where that, yeah, you see where your guardrails are. I mean, that's a wide radius right there. Again, 24-foot is preserved. You're just putting a wider radius in there for a better approach in and a right turn out.
So Conrad, I think I understand the problem is they've got a minimum, they can't bring it to a point. They have a minimum 2-foot radius on any part of it.
Yeah.
So it's a 5-foot wide island. A 2-foot radius is a 4-foot diameter. They've only got 1 foot to play with, right?
I mean, I'm sure you need the island there. If you go with the idea of putting the grass, removing the paving and putting the loam in there, then you even need that back curb. You don't even need the back curb.
I mean, what's presented to us is what will our recommendation to the select board.
Right.
to accept this amendment or not.
About getting rid of that, the big, the concrete, or not the concrete, but the paving in that Lennox area. We have any control of that? We don't have any control of it. Does the owner, he can take that out of there and put,
Select board could, after this, could, I believe they could put it on a condition.
just clean that whole.
It would look great. It'd look much better.
So,
Can I-
Mr. Chairman, to the, if I could just speak to the Lennox land, I think we mentioned, I'm not sure if Lee can condition the land in Lennox or not, but which is in part why we put these movable planters as we discussed tonight, and again with the select board last week. We want, once we're kind of through the Lee approvals and we're moving forward, we intend to discuss with Lennox the potential use of this. Could be snow storage, maybe it becomes grass. I think we've said, last week's meeting and this meeting, it really is the reason for these movable planters to facilitate that discussion with Lennox in the future. So to the extent that means something to the board, that was why we didn't want to put some permanent structure and then just leave this abandoned. We'd want to see what path, working with the town of Lennox, we could accomplish over here. We're cognizant of that, and certainly you've heard the comments from the board tonight relative to that, and really for us, that's the next discussion with Lennox, outside of these approvals, and just kind of figuring that out. I mean, even if we did snow storage, it still wouldn't have to be concrete necessarily. So we just got to figure that out with Lennox, I think.
Which is Dan the traffic expert?
Yes, Dan. Yep, Dan's here. Yep.
And question for you. So you're telling me a single in, single out, 24-foot is the safest arrangement entering a parking lot? Is that what I'm hearing from this?
Well, for this parking lot, for this level of traffic, obviously, if you had a much higher traffic volume, a huge traffic generator, you would have other considerations. But for this site and this condition, yes.
I mean, your original was a car, I think. I got to look back. Um, 32 trips per hour. So 30 entering, 30 exiting. You have one every couple minutes.
The trips per hour, that a trip is entering and then a second trip is leaving. So it's
Correct. Yep.
Right.
Yep. I got that.
Is that peak PM,
Yes. Peak hour, morning peak hours.
morning or afternoon? Should be two categories. And a PM.
Yeah, there's an in the table this afternoon.
the morning's much lower typically.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Because I'm still going back to how much of a traffic concern this was. And would like to have seen at least 2 exits. So people don't get impatient when somebody wants to make a left, because it's going to be a problem.
I mean, the first off, the data doesn't support it in this case.
They gave you a
29,
seat already.
at one trip, that's a turning movement every 2 minutes.
You're never, a left turn is going to be problem to get out of there. So, all right.
I know we
Mr.
did look
Chairman,
at
I
the
think
delay.
you're if I'm not Mr. Chairman, if I'm not mistaken, you're talking about somebody leaving the site and turning left.
Oh,
The other point I'll make is that having 2 entrances does not change the driving factor of what would potentially limit traffic, which is whatever the gap is on the main road. And in fact, it would make it less safe if you had people trying to make multiple movements out of 2 different areas that are that close together.
It still could be one throat, just wider. Could that be an option?
That would not have any safety improvement by just making it, a few feet wider. It wouldn't
So like the
materially
outlets,
change it.
the outlets having two exits, two entrances, that's not safer.
What outlets?
The premium.
I don't know.
Well,
Right.
I mean, their traffic generation, you're talking thousands of cars. It's a totally different. It's
I mean,
not
just
even,
looking at-
it's not even in the same, I don't want to be flippant. It's not even in the same realm of the traffic generation we're
Tell you
looking
the
here.
traffic generation of the other store, similar store in town. It's quite a bit, so.
Well, even if they marked with arrows,
They marked it.
that which side is the right lane, which side is the left, just to keep the people in their lanes.
Oh, I'm sure that'll be there.
Well, as I say, I think that would help immensely. I mean, you're talking about somebody that's in a southbound thing, takes a northbound turn. Then if they look down and see a giant arrow that's pointing them to the right, they know they're in the wrong lane.
There isn't gonna be an option. It's gonna be one lane to,
Yes, but it's one lane, one width.
Yeah.
But it's 24 feet that makes it two lanes. So if you took,
One in, one out.
one in, one out, Dave.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I would, yeah, but, okay, so, I'll entertain a motion to,
Want to hear from
anybody in the room have a comment on this? Or else online?
Mr. Chairman, only because I'm serving the host, I don't see anybody asking to join the room and I don't see any hands raised, and I'm looking at the participant list to determine that.
Okay, thank you. Peter?
Yeah, I'm in favor of this, of the board supporting this change. I think it seems like it is much safer than the two entrance exits that we had previously. I do think that I still have some reservations about two things in the plan. One is that a southbound driver entering the parking lot, I think Dan said, we want them to slow down, and I too want them to slow down, but I'm not sure they will. And so I think personally, as a driver with no engineering expertise, it feels to me like it's a little dangerous to have a 45-mile-an-hour right turn exit that's only 12 feet wide. But apparently that's the view of the Department of Transportation and of this engineer. So I'm ready to yield to that. I would like to see it produced on a longer radius, but I think that the boundary between Lee and Lenox and the limitations of the state right-of-way prevent really accomplishing much of that sort. So I'm going to move that the board approve this modified site plan dated October 14th, 2022, and recommend its approval to the selectmen.
And Mr. Chairman, we did have a member of the public raise their hand. I'm not sure if you're still taking comment.
We have a motion on the floor, so I need to see if there's a second.
Yep.
And then I'll open for discussion also.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay with that, Conrad? We'll have Dave Forrest seconds. Any further discussion?
I just have one more thing. I'm not going to make it a condition, but I'm going to assume that there are appropriate pavement markings, and maybe even enter here and exit here signs that might make it safer, but I'll leave that to the judgment of the engineers. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Pete, could you, Gordon Bailey is on there. Could you, with his hand raised, could you?
I have a Jane that I've just
Yep,
unmuted.
that's the one.
That's me.
All right.
Go ahead.
They've
Go
been
ahead,
unmuted.
Gordon.
Hi, you can hear me okay, sir?
Yep.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just a reminder to the board that on your vote, one of the basic principles at stake tonight is whether this is a minor modification or a major modification. So if you find it to be a minor modification that you're approving, could you make sure that you state whether it's minor or major in your as part of your motion, so that would be helpful to the Board of Selectmen when they get to theirs. That's the only comment that I'm intending to make. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Gordon. Peter, would you like to amend your?
My motion, if the members will accept my amendment, is to add the fact that I consider this a minor amendment.
Dave,
I'm good with it.
second by Dave Forrest. Okay, now further discussion. just to clarify, 24 feet is the minimum required by the state, right?
That's the standard driveway width.
Okay,
So it's a minimum and a maximum.
I guess so. So-
For a 2-lane entrance, it would be, it's their stipulated width. So anything beyond that, they would have to approve under some sort of special, they don't typically allow it. So that's their standard.
Okay. And since Matt recused, our alternate will be voting on this one. Is there any further discussion, anyone? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote to accept the minor amended as plan presented. Peter,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Peg,
Aye.
Conrad,
Aye.
Buck Donovan, nay. Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We appreciate the board's time tonight.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
Thank you,
Mr.
folks.
Chairman, just apart from what we just did, who would you like me to transition the ownership to unless you want me to stay tonight?
Yes, here. We'll actually bring it, I think, Matt Carlino, please.
Okay, so I'm going to make Matt the host and thank the board again for their time tonight. And we look forward to working with you in the future. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I thought he was talking about selling the lot.
I know. I don't know.
You guys, we can't even own this thing.
Oh,
They're gonna want
goodness
to.
gracious. Good for you, Matt.
They will be. Selling a lot. 'Cause-
Okay.
Well, that was exciting. We had a disagreement.
Oh, my
We
goodness.
did.
I know. That was pretty interesting. Oh, well.
Okay, moving on. Discussion, we're a little late, but
Yeah.
we'll continue on. 40 and 50 Fox Run. Matt, are you able to put this plan up for us?
Yes, I can do it, but I don't know if it transferred over to me. So Buck, I don't know if you can.
Okay, let me see.
Oh, thanks. Thanks.
Oh, thanks, Mark. There you go. I
Yeah.
made you the host, Matt.
Yeah, we got it.
Fairview Street.
Over here.
This is existing.
And they
Huh?
give them-
This is
Did you look
an
at it,
existing.
or did you
on
look
the
at
back.
it?
Oh,
Okay. I
We
mean,
already
I
have a
don't
lot
have a
on
problem.
there, take
Lot
Lunch's
on.
house,
yeah.
that has no
Mark.
frontage.
The
Never
driveway
did.
is 40 and
And Fest
50.
doesn't.
Yes, so
Is it like,
So he's gonna
You
take
know where,
these two lots and run them down
oh
into
God,
Fox.
the Lundfest,
Pick up the
Lundfest, does
Fox
that
Drive
property sort of
to
go
pick up the
there?
frontage.
Yeah,
Okay, that's why I was really confused.
Yeah,
it's continuous.
This is Fox Run. The
Yeah,
frontage is
yeah.
down here. And then
Yeah,
Footage. for-
this is, these are the two curb cuts for Lenfest and Briggs.
The
okay.
lots,
We would connect to them and actually not even create it.
here, this is,
Oh, good, don't.
there's two lots, here's one,
Don't.
and it ties down to here.
Things
To
get
60
really
feet.
confusing.
And then
That one
you have the other one.
So
is 100
it'll be,
and you need
the main curb
125.
cut would be,
Okay.
I should wait, but the main curb cut.
Go
would
let
be,
Mark talk.
Okay, Mark,
Sorry.
you want to present to us here what we're thinking?
So the idea is this is, if you look here, I'll do it on my piece here. So this is the frontage down here on Fox Run for lots 2 and 3 Fox Run, which are 40 and 50 Fox Run, the actual addresses. The idea is to do a common driveway off of Fairview Street to these two lots. In essence, this driveway would be a shared driveway and would be significantly flatter than coming up this way. The curb cuts, the way I've laid this out is no further curb cuts on Fairview Street at all. They're both existing currently. So where I have this kind of wide is just connecting to existing curb cuts. So we wouldn't even go into Fairview Street at all. We would just attach to those two and put our driveway here. And shared driveway to this would be for 40 and this would be for 50.
Where's the frontage coming for each? Because you're required 125 feet.
Yeah, they're actually, this 100 is shown as 100. The legal frontage is down here, and when you're on a curve, you can get a percentage down. So I believe that they're 110 on the curve. So two frontages are legal frontages down here.
Those are 125 though, right?
On a curve, you can take a reduction, which we have done.
Oh, there's, would you say 110?
I don't know if I don't know if I have this plan. This subdivision was approved back in 04, 05 area.
Just make sure, just make sure Mark speaks to the mic, so the public can hear him.
Gotcha. Oh, look at that oldie.
Wow.
So the curve right here is, doesn't show the frontages, but we have the legal frontage right here for these two lots.
What are those two values?
So it's L is equal to 100, and then this is 80 plus 21, I believe. Can't remember, there's a reduction on that, Conrad, on if you have a certain curvature, the subdivision control laws allow for a reduction from the 125 feet down to 100 maybe, or 110. I can't remember the number.
Do they take it on the curve or they take it on the chord?
Not sure to answer your question.
Matt, you want to look at the bylaw? It's a footnote 1 to table 1 on frontage. I think this is what you're thinking of.
It's a blunt width, radius of 300 feet or less, provided that there shall be a maintained event not less than 80% of the required frontage.
So you get a 20%.
So you get a 20% reduction
125.
from the
You're on the
125.
And when
Yeah.
you're on the
So you can
inside,
take the 25 off to get to 100
You're on the
foot of frontage if you're on a 300-foot radius curve,
Not up here.
which we have down, down here. This is where we
You see
have.
this lot, the curve's
Yeah,
got,
that's
the curve's got to be greater than
right.
300.
Yeah, that's my point. Yeah, that's why. It was all, this was approved at one point in time, obviously. And
but that's why that one's legal. That's on that side of the curb. So that's 110.
yeah,
But you're on the other side of the.
yeah, I'm over here, right here. at the
Right.
beginning.
So the issue tonight isn't a function of whether these are
No,
already subdivided.
yeah, they're already approved lots and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly.
I don't-
I'm asking for
I don't even understand how they're approved lots.
Oh,
How they were approved by.
Yeah.
they were approved.
I mean, they're lots, but are they,
2005. Right?
What are you questioning, I guess?
how is a 60-foot frontage an approved lot?
It's not 60-foot frontage, it's 100-foot. That's just the town map. You can't go by that. That's not the real.
What's that one say?
It's 60, and then there's the 21.
Which is 80 foot then.
It's 80, it's L equals 80 plus the 21. So
Yep.
it's 100.
100.
For frontage has definitely been issued here.
Driveway, isn't
A shared driveway is required to visit the planning board to get a common driveway approval. Driveway has to go through the planning board. So I'm here to ask for permission to use a common driveway for lots 40 and 50 Fox Run.
Okay, and that's under the subdivision.
And that's why I said.
I believe it's in the.
No,
planning
common driveway has its own bylaw. It's 199, it's 8.9.
Is it in this packet we just got tonight, Matt? Or not?
No, it's not. It says common driveways may be allowed with the approval of the planning board and review by the Board of Public Works. The common driveway length shall not exceed 750 feet. The minimum width shall be 18 feet. The common driveway shall be allowed to service 2 house lots, which shall have legal access and frontage on an approved public way. The common driveway may never be used to satisfy zoning frontage to an approved road. A plan shall be recorded showing the easement, and the easement shall be recorded in the deed.
That's where I got that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt.
I suppose you could also argue on the one lot, even though you have 100 feet on
Doesn't tell us about the.
Fox Run, you also have frontage over on Fairview Street, correct?
Yeah, the frontage on Fairview Street is a,
You can't add, it's continuous.
It's got to be continuous. It can't be the summation of the.
yeah,
All right.
but we're not asking for that anyway, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So you're gonna have two lots, or there will be.
There's two lots existing. We're just asking for the permission to have a common driveway to access them there.
Great issue there, huh?
Like,
Yeah, there's a grade issue the other way, and this is a lot
I
softer.
have illegal over.
Exactly.
Oh,
Pretty slope on that? Go the other way?
Perhaps.
Gordon's got his hand raised. If you want to hear.
There
from
we go. I got him. Yeah, go ahead, Gordon.
Yes, if for any reason the access to the lot is not on its frontage, you want on the frontage of the street, like if the legitimate frontage is on Fairview and they want to come in from another lot, you need to make that part of your motion to state that you understand that they are accessing the lot from a section that is not their legitimate frontage, just for the record and for any resale or attorney's review later. I would suggest you think about that. Thank you.
Thanks, Gordon.
We had another problem on Palm Drive just recently,
we did.
and they put in a road to town specs. And they're gonna be able to take their frontage off of that road they put in.
The one lot.
They didn't have frontage at that.
They had no frontage.
No.
Well, they had
They had to create,
4 or 5 feet.
right, they had to create frontage.
Yep.
In our case, we actually
I think
have,
that we're hung up right now, Mark, on the length, what's requested for frontage. And what you're telling us on a curve, that it can be reduced 20%?
well, I guess to back up a half a step here, these are existing building lots. There's no frontage
But
question.
when that subdivision was cut up like that, were those two lots designated as suitable building lots or were,
Yeah, all 22 lots were approved building lots at the time.
right?
So
But
we're not,
you see what it says right there with common drives that we have to be okay that those have enough road frontage.
okay.
And
Yes,
just,
my question is, so, I mean,
I don't see it. I mean, show me a surveyor, the calculations on that. I don't see how 80 feet gets 125.
so if I don't have the information with me to show you that, well, first and foremost, this subdivision was approved a while.
Yeah,
So they're building lots, they're definitely existing building lots. There's no question on the frontage whatsoever. I understand you have a question on it. I can't prove it to you because I don't have the paperwork with me.
Why don't we continue?
But I could certainly provide you the subdivision the subdivision plans that were approved that show you the actual frontage and the description on there that they're approved.
that's not,
No, this is just a pretty picture.
yeah.
The subdivisions that were, the plans that were, there's 22 pages of them that are part of the plans, but they were approved. So I'm not necessarily, I mean, I understand you have a question, but that's not my question. My question was more for the common driveway. I'm happy to show you, and, even if it's a condition, to show you that, these are building lots. I mean, I've spoken to the building department at length about this, and he doesn't have a question on that.
Matt Colmer
Matt's
is
here.
he's still with us.
Yeah, Matt, can you chime in here and tell me how these are building lots?
Hey, Buck, I looked at this a little bit today, mostly because I saw it on the agenda. I honestly didn't go through the zoning part of this to know whether or not I could call them building lots or not. It looked to me like there was frontage on both Fairview and Fox Run, which I went in to look to see if that was kind of in Bobrowski's law, whether that was okay or not. I couldn't really confirm one way or the other. So that was kind of where I was at.
I think I have a guy here, Gordon, you want to chime in?
Sure, thank you. Number one, whether a lot in a subdivision is buildable or not isn't up to the planning board. That's a building department decision after they review frontage. And as Mr. Comer, Inspector Comer just mentioned, he'll be the determinator of whether or not it's a building lot, not the planning board. Generally, the only thing that's noted on a subdivision plan, if it's not a buildable lot, that because it's set aside for some kind of drainage issue or whatever, that's usually acknowledged. But as far as whether or not it's a building lot, I think you are going to have to wait and leave that up to the building official that enforces the zoning bylaw and has time to review frontage issues. If there is legitimate frontage on a road, I know the court cases that have come about is that with planning board approval, you can access a lot that's legitimate lot and has legitimate frontage, not illusory frontage. They can access that lot from another space, but it has to be with approval. But first of all, it has to be a real lot with non-illusory frontage. And that's a determination of the building official, believe it or not necessarily the planning board. You just look at whether it's a lot or not. Well, that's all. I'll be quiet now. Thank you.
So Gordon, in our bylaw though, it says that for us to approve this, that it satisfies zoning frontage.
That's correct. You to allow for access from a lot or from a way that is not its real frontage, it needs a vote of the planning board. But that implies that there's real frontage and not illusory frontage. That's a determination that's generally made by the building official and zoning enforcement agent, who in Lee is our building official. So you almost need to get some kind of input from him as to whether lot 40 actually has real frontage on a way that's accepted. And then you can give your approval to access it by some other means other than its real frontage.
That sounds accurate to me.
We continue on until.
Well, you could go conditional or you can continue on, obviously. That's your call.
Matt Comer, you cut all that?
I did. Yep. I agree with that summation in general. But
Okay.
I wouldn't, like Gordon alluded to, I wouldn't make a ruling on that right this second. I'd have to really look and see a survey and see how it's laid out.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Matt Carlino here. Would, and not that we're in a rush, but would it change anything if we discuss the common driveway, since that's the issue Mark is here for, and then keep the Matt Colmer's decision as separate no matter what? So does one need to go before the other, or does it matter?
It does, because it's in our bylaws that we have to be okay that it has satisfied zoning frontage.
Okay. Yep.
But without knowing that, I couldn't, maybe
Okay.
you guys, I'm the nay this tonight anyway, so you guys tell me.
Well, I mean, we can do that the other way around and I can show that information to Matt. I mean, but it was an approved subdivision in 04, so.
So Mark comes in.
They were all approved lots.
Well, I think Mark comes in with a deeded, subdivided, approved plan that's been recorded. That end the discussion?
I would think.
Or if Matt
Go ahead.
Colmer sends us an email saying he's reviewed it and he's got frontage on an approved way, that's all we need. Either or.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the building commission is going to need to see a survey, not a sketch, but a survey that demonstrates that it's at 80% threshold.
Is there any jeopardy from putting this off 2 more weeks? Any jeopardy for your client?
I don't necessarily think so, You're okay with that? We're okay with that.
Okay.
I think that'll work out the best.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I
So,
can,
Mark,
I
if
can
we-
show that, I can get that to Matt and then Matt can,
Matt can get it to us and you'll be on the.
while we're here, maybe we can just discuss the common driveway part if there's any questions or whatever. I mean, obviously we'll cross that other hurdle.
I think it's a really interesting lot, and I can see why maybe you would have wanted originally to have a driveway coming down this line, but a driveway that's shorter and
I mean,
traverses less elevation is clearly better. So,
Yeah, that's the idea.
yeah.
however, we got this entrance, this drive is gonna be servicing 3 houses to think about.
Well, you actually have 2 curb cuts.
Yep.
But are you gonna be able to leave both of them open, Mark?
It's my intention to leave them open because
Okay.
it's for
Well,
safety.
it's in a position that it makes sense.
I think it's
Yeah.
personally, I just think it's just safe for everybody there, you know.
Yeah, it does work better.
Services, I mean,
Boy, it's
really, it's no different. You know, we're not changing anything. We're leaving everything.
He's gonna build a common driveway to 20-foot or 18-foot.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
don't
the
think we
town's
have any, as long as it's done
Yeah,
to those specs, we should be good.
that should work.
Yeah.
You want to approve it conditional upon Matt's certification, or do you want to wait?
I'd rather not. If he's okay with it, I'm.
Yeah, I don't have, we're,
You guys.
we wanted to get this going,
Yeah.
but I mean, I don't think we're doing anything.
No.
So I can get the information to Matt and ask him to, you know, an email to you guys or however you guys communicate would work and.
Yep,
And then
email works good because then it's documented in writing.
Next meeting's in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Yep, 2 weeks.
And I'll put it on the agenda again.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we approve it. Right. Just thinking that we don't do the shared drives much. But you're gonna, legally, I think we have to be a deed. Is this lot sold yet?
Yes.
There's been something where we have to know that there's an agreement to that second lot, because it goes over this
Yeah,
property.
the deed, I will check the
Yeah.
deed and give it to you because the deed is done. Did you see that deed by chance?
I did not.
I did not either.
It's like, just the one that comes to
Attorneys
mind
wrote the
is,
deed, but yeah.
Linda Shafroff's house. Remember they built on Meadow?
Meadow?
And her partner there
Yeah.
is in the one house, she was in the second.
Yeah.
And then they started selling off. Well, her house went over, it was a common drive, and there had to be.
In this situation,
Similar.
50 Fox Run will have an easement, their deed will have an easement to travel across 40 Fox.
Right, right.
And you're absolutely right. I think it's in the deed. I didn't read it, but I'm guessing it.
Yeah, let's make,
The lawyers and I talked about it, so I'm pretty certain that if they have that in there, because it has to be there, because I can't
Right.
allow them to travel across property that's not theirs.
so I think we'd like to make sure that that's.
I can show you that. That way there, I can show you that, and
It
that keeps,
keeps future problems out.
no problem.
What's the addresses on these two sites, even though the access is from?
40 Fox Run and 50 Fox Run.
Well, that's
That's the
the
address.
address for each,
Yeah.
but access will be from Fairview.
I went up there today and I thought 40 and 50 are the same side as,
Yeah.
confusing. And I always wondered, to be honest with you, Mark, the very first house there, why, but now I know why that land is the way it is. I thought.
Why is that all open like that?
Exactly, yeah. Eventually, things do make sense, but not in the, not always. But thanks.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
So we'll be on the docket for 2 weeks.
Yes, sir.
I'll get my stuff from that and.
And he'll get his determination to us and,
Okay.
okay,
Thank you for your time.
great.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. We have master plan updates.
So we have a meeting coming up next Monday, and we're going to be, the chief topic is going to be housing. And we have received a document that describes the Berkshire Housing Authority's opinion about the need for housing in Berkshire County generally. We're going to have the executive director of the Berkshire Housing Authority talk to us, and her public relations extension person, I'm not sure what the exact title is, community engagement. Two of them are going to be talking to us for a little while. We have received a document from the Lee Housing Authority describing their activities. I don't think I'm going to invite them in because there's really not that much to learn beyond what she's already written. So the first part of next week's meeting is going to be about housing, and we're going to try to come up with some questions or opinions about what part of the master plan should be about housing and what our views are, if we have any yet, about housing needs in the town. The remainder of the meeting is going to be discussing the upcoming public forum, which is going to be on December 17th, Saturday at 11 at the high school auditorium. And Sean Renier is our head guy for that. And I understand that through the offices of the Regional Planning Commission, we're going to use a very sophisticated polling system that is either going to work like grease lightning or is going to leave us embarrassed. And it's going to be where you log in with your cell phone to a website and you enter a code, and then everybody gets to vote. It was sort of like we did a town meeting with the little handouts, and they'll be able to vote on propositions. So Sean is in charge of putting all that together with Chris Skelly, who's the regional planning support guy we have.
Sorry, Peter, what time was that going to be at?
11 a.m.
11 a.m.
17th, Saturday the 17th. And we're also making progress on a survey that's going to be independent of the forum. And the survey is going to be conducted using software that's been used by a number of towns, oddly called Zen City software. I don't know what it has to do with Zen.
Yeah.
Sound of one hand clapping, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to use Zen City software, and Chris Britton has been very helpful in getting a grant for this and facilitating a contract. And he and Betsy Strickler, who's a member of the committee, she's heading up our efforts on that. And Betsy and Chris Skelly and Chris Britton are going to be working on what the questions are that will be in this survey. And when it's ready, people in town will be able to log on to some site run by Zen City and answer, the 50 or 100 or 20 questions that we pose for them. And some of the questions may be in the form of maps. So one of the things that this Zen City promises to do is to sort of have more variety in the kinds of questions and the kinds of responses than you can get the usual, Betsy's take and Chris Britton's take was that this is a step up, this Zen City software. So we have the money, we're going to try to do it, but I can't tell you yet much about what the questions are going to be. We have received a couple of sample questionnaires from other towns, but Betsy Strickler is working on that to adapt it to our circumstance and the committee's interests. So next Monday, we will be discussing both the forum and the survey. And between the housing, the forum, and the survey, I think we got a full meeting ahead of us. But I think, in general, I think we're making progress at a reasonable pace.
You emailed me about ADUs.
Oh, yeah.
And Matt Comer also mentioned ADUs, and you're talking
Yeah.
about housing. Is it something we should be looking at here?
Well, as a planning board member, I certainly have no objection to bringing it up. I think my own personal views, just speaking for myself, I think there is a shortage of housing in Berkshire County, especially worker housing, affordable housing, and accessory dwelling units can, I think, solve part of that. I mean, I think that's a broader problem that requires multifamily housing and,
Well, and
review of a lot of issues, but I think ADUs, looking at ADU rules in Lee and maybe liberalizing them would be something I would support spending time on.
Pretty much don't have any. It's, you can have a a 1 or 2 family dwelling, and that's it.
Well, or you can have like an apartment in a garage that's attached.
It's attached, right.
So there's gotta be a board connecting the building.
No, actually, they've gotten more strict. It has to be a little more than that. So yeah, I think it limits us, there's a lot of illegal ones around, but.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it would make sense, Buck, if we wanted to put, on the agenda to look at, what Lennox is doing or Great Barrington.
Even Monterey has an ADU bylaw. And what I've seen most of it is usually they limit the size.
Yeah.
It still has to conform to setbacks.
Yeah.
And it has to if it needs septic, then it has to do Title V and all that, so.
Yeah. So sounds like maybe, it's something we might conceivably come to consensus on.
America has done how we designed our cities and towns. It was.
Well, I personally think we ought to try to figure out a way to make people flourish if they don't have automobiles. And
we're very auto-centric.
If we can move a little bit in that direction in the next plan, I'd be happy. And, if we can adapt our zoning so that people can walk more places and drive fewer places, I think that would be a good change. So I've been wrong about a lot of things in my life, so.
What you got, Peg?
I was just going to say, Peter, at one of our discussions, you had said about the diversity in the community.
Yeah.
And recently, I don't know, at 32 Park Street, which is my neighbor, the literacy about volunteers dedicated that part of that building to Ruth Weintraub, who did a lot with, it started off in the library, then it went to 21 High Street. And so that is something that when I'd spoken to people in the Spanish community, Hispanic community, they said that was very, very helpful.
Literacy.
For volunteers. It's a program that teaches people English.
Yeah, I know my wife used to teach.
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, we do have something here in Lee that.
Oh, okay. No, actually, what the concern was originally expressed was we didn't have anybody on our committee.
Right.
Who was Hispanic or Black or, any sort of minority. But
I do think, because I know someone very well that used to work at the Cactus Cafe. And he's really basically sort of a friend of mine. And he said that a lot of his friends are scared. They're scared because they don't know. Some of them have been here illegally. They don't have the green cards. And it creates a problem for many people. He does. He's got his license. He's got his green card. He's registered. He votes. And so I just feel sometimes it's myself going to a foreign country and not being able to speak the language. It's the literacy of volunteers has helped a number of people in our community. And I think that's a very good thing about Lee.
Thanks, Peg.
Thank you.
I got Gordon.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Here, thank you very much. Two things. One is, Mr. Bloom, Member Bloom, when did you say the next meeting is of the committee, the master plan committee?
Next Monday night.
At what time? I'm sorry.
It's next Monday night at 7.
7. Okay, thank you very much. No, I appreciate that. Next, on the ADU issue. A lot of communities have come up with ADUs because they allow ADUs by right in districts that have, they break up their districts differently than we do. We allow in our residential districts 2-family, basically by right based on square footage of the lot. The ADUs, I know in Great Barrington, I think Mr. Colmer, Inspector Colmer, if he wishes, but he doesn't need to. I think in Great Barrington, you'll find that some of their zoning requires a special permit for 2-family homes. But that doesn't, the ADU is by right, because an ADU down there is like no more than 600 square feet or no more than 400 square feet. And what I don't, and I think I'm going to try and come to your meeting to explain some of the differences, because in the state building code, they're both, whether it's an ADU or whatever you call it, it's still a 2-family. And if you have a garage with a dwelling unit over it, still a 2-family, still needs 2 exits, still needs all kinds of requirements, needs separation from the other one. So, it's not a straightforward issue. It can be kind of complicated. And I will try and come to discuss some of those issues, but just know that within the town of Lee, if you want to have an ADU thing, it's basically, you want to look at the issue of, well, is there a limit on size? And therefore you eliminate the extra square footage in our table of, our table of that says how many square feet you need in a lot if you're a single versus a 2. So those are the things that the committee's going to have to look at, but I will go more in depth in that on Monday. I'll try and be there at 7. But thank you for working on this. I think it's an interesting issue. But it is a 2-family home under the state building code, no matter how you cut it. Thank you.
Gordon, thank you for offering to do that. I would welcome your thoughts on this at the master plan committee, but I do want to say that I think we're more at about 30,000 feet and you're at about 100 feet of altitude.
Yeah.
I don't even know if the committee has heard the term ADU yet. We're just sort of getting our toe in the water of housing issues. So you're welcome to comment. I'll give you time on the agenda if you want to talk about it, but I think it might work better later as we get more detail.
That's fine. I didn't know if knowing a little bit more in depth might help them make their decisions as to where they're headed, but I'll defer that to you, Peter, as to what you think the best approach may be.
I can't say it would be inappropriate. It might well go, the discussion might well go there. So if you want to give, I'll give you 5 or 10 minutes. Is that what you think you need,
Sure.
Gordon?
Yeah, probably even not more than that. But yeah, other than that, I'd love to just sit there and listen. I'm very interested in the progress of the master plan, believe me, but I don't want to interfere either in what the committee does. So, but thank you. I may take you up on that 5 or 10 minutes time. Thank you very much.
I'll put you in after the Berkshire Housing Authority people, so you get to hear what they say. I expect them to be basically advocating for a proposition that Lee should do more in terms of developing more housing. And that's the position that they have in their policy paper that I've already got. And so it'll be interesting to see what the committee's reaction is. And somebody, who knows? We have one guy at least who's trained in zoning, and he may say, well, we need ADUs. And then Gordon, you'll be right there and you can tell him about it.
Yeah, I think our biggest problem in our zoning bylaw for you to lay in front of the master plan is the fact that the planning board is handcuffed to a certain number of units per lot. And I think that's what needs to go away and is one of the biggest obstacles in the way of actually having really good development, especially in the downtown area where we can have a more dense population base without vehicles, because they'd be on the BRPC's routes and all that. So I think that's an even larger problem, is to get rid of that language in the zoning bylaw that handcuffs the selectmen on the number. You just went through this to a number of 12 units in a single building. That's ridiculous. That's totally antiquated language. Love to talk to you about that.
Okay, well, we'll put you on the agenda.
That's right.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Matt Comer.
Matt. Yep.
Okay.
Matt.
Yeah, I think it's just worth noting, in the Barrington zoning, an ADU required a site plan review from the planning board. So any ADU had to go before the planning board for site plan review.
Makes sense. Yep.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
Sure.
Okay, anything else? All set?
All set.
Set. I'll get to you. Let's stay with the agenda, then I can get to that. Next we have the minutes. was that? Oh, there,
Isn't that
right
nice?
behind you,
That's
September
so cool.
26th.
Love
Thanks,
that.
Matt.
You're welcome.
Put them up on the screen though, like that. It's wonderful.
I make a motion, we approve.
I'll
as
second it.
written.
Okay, second, any further discussion?
I forget, but was I,
We're not there.
okay, but in the last statement, it says Carlino.
Oh,
Aye.
did you come in later?
I can't
or not?
remember. My memory's terrible, so I just thought I mentioned it. Maybe someone else remembers. So,
Said you came
Okay,
later.
yep. So I need another
Okay.
motion as amended.
Okay, got it.
I'll second it.
Hey, any further? Roll call vote, Peter,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Peg,
Aye.
Matt,
aye.
Buck Donovan, aye. Next up, any other topic? Peg has an update from Community Preservation Committee.
Yes, I'll just take a minute. We did have our first meeting, thanks to Chris Britton organized us, and we have a good committee. Tom Logston's going to chair the committee. Tom Unsworth, Tony Thomas, Kathy Hall, Steve, I can't pronounce his last name. I'll spell it out for you later, but Belafonte, David Stone, Tom Logston, myself, and Susan Stone were there. And I just want to say that there's 4 accounts that this Community Preservation Committee is going to be concerned with, and we're trying to get an application that'll come later. The accounts are open space and recreation, housing, historical buildings or monuments, and then a separate account. And each year at town meeting, I guess there's going to have to be put in some money for each of those 4 accounts, not the total amount. Right now, the town of Lee has $138,539, and they're expecting 42,000 more from the state, making it close to $180,000 that have been collected on that tax that's gone through. The money can be rolled over from year to year. They don't spend it all. And we'll be meeting the second Wednesday of the month here in this room. And we're having training. Somebody is coming up from Boston on the 30th of this month from 6 to 8 in this room to educate all of us about it, because it's a new adventure for our town.
What are the goals?
The goals are these 4 areas that we will be putting money
Okay.
into different things.
To purchase them for the town, or?
No,
How
no,
does
it could be, well, it could be, I'm not saying, I don't really know yet, because I
Okay.
haven't, been trained, but I do have this, if anybody wants it, that Chris, do you want it, Buck, or you
I
could
just-
take it? You could take it. Take it and read it. It's fine. Yeah, take it. Yeah. So it's a new
Actually, I can
thing.
find this online.
Some people, okay. Well, like when the Gateway Preservation did the monument in the park here, the Kilbon Memorial.
Yeah,
That might have been something, I mean,
okay.
they did that independently, but that might have been something that the town might have been interested in. Open space, I'm sure somebody will come up. One of the people on the committee, I don't want to, name names, but said they'd like to see more trails around where you could walk the trails, and maybe they could even clear some of the trails that are there. Housing, I mean, keeps
Keeps coming up.
surfacing
Oh, yeah.
all over. So I know in Lennox, they did buy a house, I think they for it, and they auctioned it off or something. It was really quite, interesting. And Parsons March in Lenox, beautiful place where you could bring a wheelchair. Somebody not only walking, but you could access it with a wheelchair. So, I mean, different
There's a lot.
things that the town, the way Chris explained it, and he said he wasn't really sure, but it's something that the town maybe could put money toward that they can't. I mean, the towns are all strapped too, where they might add something to housing, or maybe the housing authority, Brown Memorial maybe needed a new roof or something, or different things that would go in that would help people. Yes.
I twice applied for one of these grants from the Great Barrington's Committee.
Oh, really?
So, and I watched their committee's deliberations for over a year. I was applying for a grant for the preservation of the historic building in Housatonic.
Oh.
And ultimately I got the grant, we got the grant, and it was done. But I have some thoughts to supplement what you were saying, Peg. I don't think they're in conflict at all, but it's in Great Barrington's case, they spent the money that I observed. They, in some cases, bought up the development rights to farmland that they wanted to keep open.
Yeah.
Or they bought up some hiking space that they wanted to keep, in woodland. They gave grants to housing organizations to build new affordable or worker housing. And they gave grants to my organization to do some restoration on a historic building that was in danger of falling down. And they paid a share of the cost of the restoration of that. So it was very useful to us, speaking as the applicant. But as an observer of the Great Barrington process, I do have some thoughts that I'd like at some point to share with you, or possibly even the committee. I found the process that Great Barrington used for the application was very burdensome, which is fine. If you're asking for $60,000, you should have to fill out some forms. But it turned out that the information that they wanted wasn't the information that they asked for. So, I mean, they had a lot of information required, but when I went to them after they read the application, they still didn't know what they wanted to know. They wanted to know a heck of a lot more from me verbally than they got from the application. So it pays to think ahead. What are you really after? And put that in the application. And then when we got the grant, they offered us a contract, which, okay, I took a course on contracts 50 years ago in law school, okay? But the thing a contract is supposed to do, as I remember, the basics are describe what each of the parties is going to do. And the contract that they offered us had plenty of boilerplate in it. It had plenty of penalties for failure to fill out forms, but it never really described what it was that we were going to do for them for the $60,000 that they were going to give us. So I think that I would give them a C+ in terms of, an overly bureaucratized, not very flexible, very responsive system. And I think we should try to avoid that result in Lee. So if it's any of this is of interest to you or the committee, I'll be glad to share my experiences further.
I'll mention it at our next meeting. Thank you.
Great. Okay, and before the meeting, as you saw, the email from Harry Kastronakis, and they're progressing finally, and he seems somewhat happy. I did run into him, and
oh yeah,
he still had issues, but I think he'll always have issues. So
well, I got an email from him, and he said some things are good, some things aren't so good. Yeah, I think you all saw it, and I wrote back and I said, Harry, welcome to Lee.
Yes.
Hope you enjoy your future life here.
I don't have anything. Anybody else have anything they'd like to discuss? Matt? Yeah, he's gone.
No,
he fell asleep.
I'm good. I'm here. No, I'm all set.
Okay.
We had a discussion with Peter about accessory building.
Yeah,
Okay. Said they didn't exist in the town of Lee. And this is just a conversation I had with Todd Burdick.
yep,
He said he had pulled a permit for a garage down Route 102.
right,
It's an accessory building.
it's no, accessory dwelling.
Okay.
Accessory building is a garage, a shed, anything to complement the primary use. Accessory dwelling is where you live, where people live in it.
This isn't going to be that.
No, then it's fine. Accessory, yeah.
Accessory building is easy.
Is fine.
Accessory
Is
dwelling is hard.
Yeah, accessory building is permitted. Accessory dwelling, not, yeah, but Gordon confused me a little bit, but how our zoning reads, you can have a 1 or 2 family dwelling. A dwelling is how.
By right, yeah.
By right.
Yeah.
So it doesn't say you can have a 2-family multiple dwellings. You know, that's where.
Side by side, you mean?
Right. So that's how it's always been interpreted. You can have one building, you can have 2 families. It can be a duplex or a mother-in-law apartment if it's attached.
Except up and down and.
Up and down, sideways, the attached garage with the apartment above it. But the detached garage with the apartment above it, we don't allow.
Yeah.
Which
Right. That's
doesn't
way
make
different.
sense.
Oh, there's some around.
Oh, they're around. Oh, yeah. Like I said, and we tax them and we take their water, but yeah. I guess they predate zoning maybe,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Maybe a little harder in septic areas. Because the
Good,
lot
but-
sizes are.
But we have, you take on my road, Lander, you go halfway up it and it turns to CR, which is 3 acres to build, which is little. 3 acres is a lot. So I have a lot of woods that,
Could handle septic.
You could have.
well, and it's actually, there's town sewer up there.
Oh,
Okay.
well, that's
So
even better.
and it's just funny. And across the street from me is a, piece of property and I think it's about 8 acres. So technically that would end up being 2 building lots, which is just, like we said, that's the sprawl that we've done in America.
I was talking to somebody from a neighboring town who said that they have 4-acre zoning in their entire town.
Richmond, I believe is like that. Stockbridge also, yeah.
Yeah. So we have work to do, but boy, do they have work to do.
Well,
Well, they don't want,
They
they
don't
may
want
not want it though.
Probably by design.
it is. It's not,
Hmm.
I mean, Richmond was total snob zoning. That's just what it was. But.
Well, I thank
like-
you for straightening that out on Al for me. That's good.
But like Gordon said, our density, we could probably look at. Might be a challenge.
The lot density, lot
The
occupation.
numbers, the occupation, the
Yeah.
12 units that,
Yeah.
that goes back to the 70s or 80s when all the zoning was designed and we thought it'd be better for a community for everybody to have their own individual house.
Separated from the neighbors so that you don't ever have to listen to the Rolling Stones on the guy's stereo.
Yes, exactly, right. But now we've seen maybe, and a lot of the zoning was protectionism, what could be where. So it's time to rethink some of it.
Good.
Okay, one more motion?
To adjourn.
Yes, sir.
Good meeting.
So moved.
Good meeting.